Hey everybody, Prepper Nurse 1 here. Today is Tuesday. It is June 23rd, 2020. It is about 6:30 at night right now. I came in here because we've been having off and on showers. And I gotta show you. Puppies! Where's the chickies? Did they all go in the house because it's raining? Huh? Yeah? Alright. So anyway, I want to do a video because we were talking recently in the live stream and the topic came up about EMPs and the fact that China is a possibility may use an EMP on us. So I wanted to go over 15 things that you may or may not have known about Faraday cages, okay? What will work, what doesn't work. So we're going to go over a list. Hold on, I got a smudge on here. Hold on. Alright, hopefully that's better. I have a list of things that you may or may not know about Faraday cages, okay? So number one, will a microwave work as a Faraday cage? No, a microwave will not work as a Faraday cage. So anything you put into a microwave and think that that is going to work, you're going to be sadly mistaken. It is not going to work, okay? So a microwave is not going to be a good thing that's going to work. Number two, will a refrigerator work as a Faraday cage? No, most refrigerators do not act as a Faraday cage. Maybe some of your older ones might be okay, but you would have to test that out to make sure it worked or it didn't work. So the best way to test that out, so we're gonna get into the best way to test if something works as a Faraday cage later on. So remember that. We'll get back to that. But no, most refrigerators do not work as a Faraday cage. Okay. It says if I keep a backup phone in a Faraday cage, will it be able to work? And the answer is yes. If you keep a backup phone in a Faraday cage, it will work. But if we have had an EMP or a solar flare, who are you going to call? Who are you going to communicate with? Because all communications would be down. So realistically, that phone would be worthless after an EMP, even though, yes, it would work. Okay, so that's something to think about. A radio, ham radio, having a CB radio, those things would be better to have in your Faraday cage to use for trying to communicate after an EMP or a after a solar flare or an EMP. Okay. Number four, do I need to store batteries in my Faraday cage? And the answer is no. Batteries will still work no matter what. Okay, so you have to worry about batteries with a Faraday cage. So that's a good thing to know. And I would suggest if you have a flashlight or any kind of electronic device, do not keep your batteries in them, because in that way it's a non-working thing, and then when the time comes and you need to use them, that is the time you should be putting in your batteries at that point in time. All right. Number five, do I need to ground my Faraday cage? The answer is no. A Faraday cage, basically what's happening is the electromagnetic pulse hits the Faraday cage, it goes around it, can't get inside of it, and so that does not need to be grounded. Okay. Let's see. Number six. Do I need to keep my solar panels in a Faraday cage? And the answer is no. You do have a dioide on the back of your solar panels that would definitely not survive an EMP attack. But your solar panels themselves would be fine. You would just have to replace that diode. So if you're just storing your panels, you can take that diode out and put that into your Faraday cage and have that there at that time. So that saves you a lot of space, but you do not have to have that solar panels in that Faraday, or in a Faraday cage. Okay. All right. Let's see. Number seven. If I wrap my electronics, will this work? Like if you wrap your electronics in aluminum foil, will this work to help protect them? And the answer to that is no. But there's something interesting with this. If you have, let's say you have an inverter, okay, you have an inverter, your backup inverter, and it's still in the box that it came in. So if you still have it in that box and you haven't opened it up yet and you have that there and available to you, if you wrap that box in aluminum foil, that does work as a Faraday cage for the components inside. So that's really, really good to know. So you could literally take something, wrap it in aluminum foil as long as it is still in a box, and that will act as a Faraday cage. So that's really, really good to know. Okay. Let's see. Number 8. Will flashlights continue to work after an EMP? The answer is some will, yes. Some will not. It basically is going to depend on how close they were, how close you were to the detonation of the blast, and and the power of the blast, depending on how large of a release it was. So the farther away you are from an EMP detonation, the better chances are that your flashlights are going to work. Okay. All right. Number 9. Is a shipping container a Faraday cage? Now here's the good news on this one. Yes, it is. A shipping container is absolutely a Faraday cage. But what you're going to want to do is when you're storing things inside of your shipping container, you don't want to have metal-to-metal contact, because again, that metal from the storage container, the shipping container, acts as the Faraday cage. So you either going to want to have things on shelves in there, or in boxes, in those type of things. You don't want to leave that just laying on the floor and any kind of contact with the walls or the ceiling. So that's a good thing to know. So again, you would want to have have your stuff in boxes inside the shipping container, wooden bins or whatever the case may be, and the shipping container will act as the Faraday cage. So that's a good thing to know. All right. Let's see. Okay, so number 10, can I use a shipping container as a Faraday cage for my car? Yes, you can. Most cars will fit inside of a shipping container. Now, the only downside is, don't plan on using that car. You would want to keep that car in that shipping container at all times. So you would probably want to have a second car. So if you were counting on using that car as a backup, you can put it in the Faraday cage, but then it would be something that you wouldn't want to use on a regular basis. Obviously, you'd want to do maintenance, upkeep on it, take it out periodically, obviously, and stuff like that. Make sure the tires are good shape and stuff like that. So when that EMP came, you would still be able to use that car after that EMP. Okay, so that's also a really good thing to know. If you turn off your devices, will they be EMP proof? The answer to that is no. If it's out in the open, even if it is off and unplugged, it will still fry those systems. So that's why, like, if your car is sitting in the driveway and there's an EMP, your car is going to be toast, even though it wasn't running at the time or anything like that. Okay. Let's see. Number 12. Are airplanes a Faraday cage? Airplanes are not a Faraday cage. Airplanes go by thrust and force to be able to lift off. They're like a big glider is what airplanes are. If there is an EMP, the engines will shut down and they turn into that big glider, and they're going to be very, very difficult to handle, and most airplanes that are in the air at that time would crash. So that is something to be aware of as well. Okay. Number 13. How do I test an object to see if it'll work as a Faraday cage? So remember, we were from earlier. I said we're going to talk about this later. The best way to do it is you take a radio and you put it into what you want to use as your Faraday cage, and you have it turned on. Once you close up that Faraday cage, if it loses signal and is not running, then you know that yes, that is working. If you can still hear the radio and it is still working inside of your test Faraday cage, then that is not a Faraday cage, okay? Because a Faraday cage is going to cut off all signals for everything. So that's why you want to make sure. So a radio is the best way. A phone will work, but the phone would still ring. You're not going to be 100% accurate with a phone. A radio is the best way to test your Faraday cage, okay? Let's see. Number 14, can I EMP proof my car? You can, but again, you'll never be driving it if you do. If you have EMP proofed your car, it's not something that you're going to want to have out there that you're driving around on a regular basis. Now, older cars will absolutely still work. They're basically EMP proof because they don't have the electronic devices. So you can buy an older model car and use that because it's not going to have the electronic starter and all that type of stuff. So those type of cars would still work, but it's again, to get an EMP proof your car, it's very, very difficult to do it. And it wouldn't be something you'd be able to you'd have to have it parked and put away. That's the only way you're EMP proofing a newer model car. Okay? So number 15, will a galvanized steel trash can make a good Faraday cage? Now, I've talked about this before. I've actually showed this, and the answer to that is absolutely yes. Okay? But you're going to want to make sure that the seal is perfectly sealed. Now, the best way you do that, once you put your components into your galvanized trash can, you're going to want to close the lid and then seal that with some kind of a metal tape of some sort so it has that good seal. Okay. Now, inside of your galvanized trash can, you're going to want to make sure you line that whole thing with cardboard because, again, you don't want metal-to-metal contact. Probably the best thing to do, whatever components you have, if you have a laptop, CB, ham radio, any of those type of things, leave them in a box, okay? You can even, for overkill, if you want to, wrap them again in aluminum foil, put them inside of that can once you've lined that can with cardboard, and then you seal that up and then just put it away. That is really probably the cheapest way to go for making an EMP-proof device would be a galvanized trash can. It's not that expensive, and a lot of your components that you're going to want to keep and make sure that they're okay are going to be smaller, and they're going to fit in that trash can. So I hope this helps. I thought it was important to go over these different things because some people have misconceptions that they think like a microwave would work as a Faraday cage when it will not. Okay, so hopefully that helps. I definitely would like to hear your feedback on this topic. And hear what you guys have to say. I'm sure some of you knew the answers to some of these things, other things you probably did not. So hopefully you got some fresh information from this video. Again, please like, comment, and share the video so that more people can get that information out there so they're not doing the wrong thing. We want to protect our components, obviously, in case of that EMP type of situation, because you just never know. You really just never know. So I'm going to kick this around and show you. The fans are still rolling up here, which is pretty cool. Today, I pulled 11 eggs today from the chickens. Now, I have not checked again right now. It's about 6:30 right now. So they were underneath underneath the chicken coop. That's what they do. They'll go underneath the chicken coop. So I still have to pick up the dog house from my neighbors. I just have not gotten to it. But I will get that for them. But again, they're not outside all the time. They actually just went out probably a half an hour ago, so that they could get a run in before they went to bed. Well, not bed, but you know what I mean. They're in for the evening. And then we take them out one time later tonight. They'll go out again. So anyway, so that's it for now, guys. I am going to jump off of here. Like I said, I definitely would like to hear your feedback. What are your thoughts on what we talked about? Hopefully you learned some new information. And, that's what it's all about. It's learning and sharing information. Okay? So remember, guys, we are all in this together. That is important to remember. Also remember to hug and kiss the ones you love. Tell them every single day. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. We never know what's going to happen in life. It's really important to tell the people that we care about every day. Maxie. Max. What are you doing? So, anyway, guys, I am going to jump off. Also remember, guys, STD. It's one step at a time, one thing at a time, and one day at a time. Whatever you're trying to accomplish, whatever you're trying to do, you can do it. The only one that's going to stop you from getting there is you. That's it. Nobody else can stop you. I hope everybody's having a great day, and I will talk to you all later. I'll see you all tomorrow, and tomorrow I will be live streaming tomorrow night at 8 p.m., so look for me then, okay? I will see you all later. Prepper Nurse 1, out for now. Maxie, what's happening? Yeah.